Alright, so now we take a look at the pattern for the front legs. So we're starting with color B, which is our second color. So I'll be starting with the darker color. So you use whatever color you used for that eye patch thing. And we're going to start with an adjustable ring of 6 single crochet again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we close our ring and start with round 1. So in round 1 we want to put 2 single crochets in each stitch for a total of 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And since we're switching to our other color after this round, I'm not going to finish the last single crochet, but I'm going to pick up my other color. Start with a slip knot. And I'll switch to this color in the usual manner. There we go. And I'll do 1 stitch just to anchor it. And since we won't need the color that we started with anymore, I'll cut it off, and instead of sewing it in, I will just double knot it with the tail of the new color that I just added. So I'll just put 2 knots in it, and that way all the strings can stay inside the little foot and they won't fall out. So now the pattern tells me to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 2 rounds. So I'm going to make 24 stitches total. I already made 1, so there's 23 left. I'm going to make all these stitches and then meet you at the other end. And 24. So I've done all my stitches in the pattern. Now I want to cut it off, and it says to leave a tail for sewing it on, so I want to cut a longer string so I can sew it on with this later. And before I stuff it or sew it on, I'm going to make the second front leg. I'm just putting all these strings inside. And I'm going to make a second one of these, and then we'll sew them on. Alright, and I've got both of my front legs done. I'm just going to stick all this string inside the second one. And to start sewing, of course, we need to thread this into our needle again. And we need a little bit of stuffing. Really just a tiny little bit. We don't want to stuff it too tight or too full. I'll just try to roll this up in here. So we've got a tiny little bit sitting right there on top. And as you can see, we want it on the front of our cat. So I want to aim this to the back so it's not as visible, because there is this little bump of the last stitch. So I'll put it backwards and then find the spot where I want to sew it on, probably around here. There. And then I'm just going to start sewing by going through the body and the next stitch of the leg. And I want to sew through each stitch like this. I just go stitch by stitch. Make sure my leg stays in place where I want to keep it. And pull your stitches really tight because you want this to be really securely sewn on, so we don't have any legs falling off later. One more and then I'm all the way around. And just to make it a little more secure, I'm gonna do the same thing around again. So I've got it, so I got 2 stitches in each of the single crochet stitches, just to make sure it's really secured to the body. And after that, I will sew on the second leg, and then I will meet you for making the hind legs. Alright, there we go. Both front legs are attached. And now we need to make the bag. And now we need to make the back legs. So the hind legs start the same way as our front legs did. So again, we're going to start with color 2 and a ring of 6 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And close it, and then 2 single crochet in each stitch to get to 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And half of the 12, because now we want to attach our other color. Again, we'll make a slip knot. Attach it in the stitch. And make an extra stitch to anchor it so it doesn't slip back out. Now I'm going to cut off my first color yarn and knot them together again. 2 knots so neither of them can slip out. 1, 2. And now again, the pattern tells us to do 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in each, so 24 stitches in total. I'm going to do that right now, and then we're going to move on to the next round. And 24 stitches. There we go. Now round 5 tells us again to decrease the first 2 stitches and then 1 stitch in the next to get down to 8. So we're going to do our invisible decrease again. That is 1 decrease and 1 single crochet, and that's 2 stitches, so we're going to do this another 3 times to get up to 8. So now I want to take all these little strings and stick them in there so they're out of my way. There we go. And the last 2 rounds, I need to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. So that's 8 and 8, so 16 stitches, and then we're done with this. There we go. Again, we're going to leave a sewing tail, so we're going to cut this off a little bit longer and fasten it off. And there we go. This is one of our hind legs, and I'm going to make a second one, and then we're going to start sewing them on. Alright, I finished the second leg, so we've got 2 of the hind legs, and we want to stuff them lightly again. This hole is really small, so you might have to use your pinky or maybe the back of your crochet hook to get this stuffing in there. There we go. And just a light stuffing is enough, just so it can keep its shape. And here's some for the other one. And there we go. So these are all stuffed. And now we want to sew them on. And as you can see, the cat is sitting, so the legs point outward, like on this one. And that's how we want to attach them on our new kitty here. All right. So we want this little nub where our last stitch is to be on the bottom, and the leg should be pointing out like this, so the kitty can sit just like that. And we'll do it the same way we did with the front legs. We just sew right into our cat, into a stitch, and we'll do this all the way around. Alright, now I'm going to go a second time around just to secure it a little more. But if you're happy with just sewing once around it, that's fine too. It depends on what kind of stress this the finished work is going to be subjected to. So I'm going to finish sewing this on, and then I'm going to sew the next one on, and then we'll start working on the tail. And there we go. Our kitty has all 4 legs now, and she can sit down nicely. And now we want to give her a tail. So our pattern again tells us to start with our second color yarn, which in this case is my dark brown yarn. And our pattern tells us again to do 6 single crochet in a ring. Then we increase it to 12. And then we do 1, 2, 3 rounds of 12. So I'm going to do all of that, and then I'll meet you when we switch to the other color again. Alright, and I have 3 rounds of 12 stitches each. I put my stitch marker in on the last stitch of the last increase round. so I can count 1, 2, and this will be the third. And now I want to change to the other color yarn again. And I'll just do 2 stitches just to secure it. And then just like we did with the legs, we want to cut this yarn off, the one we won't be working with anymore, and then double knot it to the yarn we just attached to make sure they're secure. And then I'll just stick them inside. They'll stay there. And then our pattern tells us to finish the round with 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'll quickly do that. Alright, and now the pattern tells us to lightly stuff the tail. And this is because we'll start decreasing again and it'll get smaller and smaller, like here. And at some point it'll be too small to keep stuffing the end, so we want to start stuffing it in the beginning before it gets too difficult. So I'll just take a little bit of my stuffing material, stick it right in there. Make sure it's not sticking out at the top. So I really want to stuff it down. There we go. Just a little bit on the bottom. And then I'm going to do the next round, which is the decrease in the first 2 stitches and then 4 single crochets after that. And I'll do that twice to get down to 10 stitches. So now in the next round we're just going to do 1 stitch in each again. So 10 single crochet all together. Alright, so I have another 10 stitches done. Now round 8 tells us to again decrease, 1 decrease and then 3 single crochet for a total of 8. After that we're going to stuff it again and then do 2 rounds of 8 stitches. So first we'll do the decrease round. So now with 8 stitches left, we have only a tiny little hole here. So we want to stuff it as much as we can right now. And for that I'm going to roll up some of the stuffing into a ball, put it on top, and then again use the back of my crochet hook to get it in there. And I want a little bit more. Roll it all up. Lay it on top and let's get it in there with the crochet hook. Alright, that's enough stuffing. This is still relatively soft, it's not overstuffed, but this is enough to keep it. So now I'm going to do my 2 rounds of 8 and then I will decrease to 6. Okay, so I just decreased it down to 6 stitches, so I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches left. I will take my stitch marker and put it right here in the last stitch. Because now, according to my pattern, I will go around 6 stitches 10 times to get to the length of the tail. You can make it longer if you want. I wouldn't recommend making it much shorter. If you want, again, you can probably do that. But I would do at least 10, and if you want a really long tail that can wrap around your cat or whatever, you can definitely make it longer. So I will do 10 rounds of 6 stitches each, and then we will fasten off the tail. Alright, I have all 10 rounds done, so now I'm at the end of my tail. I'm just going to leave it at this length. Again, if you want to make it longer, you can. I'm going to cut a tail. Again, it has to be long enough to sew it onto the body. And now we're going to close off the tail the same way we did the head. So we're going to take our yarn and thread it on the needle. And we will go from the outside to the inside just through the front loops. Don't pull it too tight yet. Just from the outside to the inside. There we go. Now that we're on the last stitch, we can pull it tight. So now we've got our tail closed off. I can take my stitch marker out, and I'm going to sew it onto my kitty cat. So the way I did this one is I just put it on an angle on the side, so you can move it up if you like. Like this. Or you can put it down or curl it around a little bit. So it's a little flexible. So I'll do the same thing on this one. I'll just hold my tail right between the hind legs at the back. So this is the back of the cat. I'm just holding it at a bit of an angle, and I'll just sew it on like this. And I'll just go around a couple times, and that should be enough to secure the tail to the body. So we're almost done. All we have to do now is the ears. And we're going to get started on that as soon as this is all sewn in. There we go. So the ears, we will make one in each color, and I'm going to show you the one in the light color because that's obviously easier to see for you than the darker color. So this time our pattern says to start with 4 single crochet in a ring, because obviously we want the ears to be a little bit pointy and not too round. So we're starting with less. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to close our circle. And now what we need to do is 2 single crochet in the first, 1 in the next, and we do that twice, so we get to 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that was our first round. Again, turn it inside out, so the outside actually is on the outside. And every round for this ear pattern, we do increases. So in the second round, we do 2 single crochet in each of the first 2, and then 1 in the third. So we'll get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the same on the back, to 10 stitches. And after that, we'll just increase on each side to get a nice smooth taper. But the pattern tells you exactly what to do, and I'm just going to do this one in front of the camera, and then I'm going to make the other one without the camera, and then I'll show you how to sew them on. You want to use your stitch marker if you might stop in between, or if you're scared that you might lose count. Definitely use your stitch marker. I'm not going to use it for this one because this is a really quick pattern for me. So here we go. Alright, and here is my other ear in the second color. And the way we're going to attach these is by folding them over in a V shape, like this. And that's how we're going to sew them on. Now, which side you want to sew which color ear on is completely up to you. But you want to attach it right over the ears, angling out a little bit in a V shape, like this. So again, of course, we need our needle. And you lay it flat, and then you fold it into a V shape, like this. And you hold it where you want to attach it. There we go. And then just start sewing. I'm going to start with the first side of the V first until I get to the center, and then I'm going to turn around. So this time, when we attach it, we want to make sure that we go through both sides on the ear, because it's double layered and we want both sides to be sewn on equally securely. So you go through both sides like this. You want to make sure that your needle goes through both sides every time. And once we get to the middle, we're going to fold it down and hold it in place, just like this, and then start sewing on the back. Okay, just out, through, there we go, and that's just about 2 more stitches, and then I'm going to go back again to secure it some more. But for now, this is it for securing. There we go. And now I'm just going to go all the way back again just to make sure it is really securely attached. I like double sewing any accessories that I sew onto my amigurumi, just to make sure that nothing falls off at any point, even if it's being tugged at. Here we are at the back. And you want to pull these stitches nice and tight so you don't have any long threads hanging around. They should be really nice tight stitches. Not so tight that it would distort the head, but tight enough to make sure it's really tightly sewn on and secured to the head. There we go. I'll do one more stitch in the front, and then I can weave in my tail somewhere over here. And there we go. This was our first ear. And you can refold it a bit if you want it really pointy, or you can open it a bit if you'd like it a bit rounded. And I'm going to sew on the second ear now. And there we go. And this one I want to weave into the ear so it doesn't stand out in the lighter colored body. So I'll just use the stitches of the ear to secure my sewing thread in my stitches. And there we go. Cut it off and we are done. We have created a little Amigurumi kitty cat with button eyes and a posable tail. There we go. I hope you liked this tutorial and I hope you were able to follow along. If you have any problems or questions, just leave a comment or send me an email. Again, I gave a link to the pattern in the description, and there's also a link to Ravelry, the website where I posted the pattern. It is a very good website for looking for further patterns, so if you want to try out some other amigurumi or anything else, just do the pattern search there and you'll find a lot of patterns for whatever you're looking for, and just try them out. And if you ever run into any trouble or need help with anything, let me know and I'll try to help you figure it out. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for joining me.